Hey guys, Stuart here. Going to give you a really quick video, hopefully in 2 minutes, on the weighted average cost of capital. Alright, let's see if we can do this. So the weighted average cost of capital is the weighted average of what our different cost of capital are. Now in a company we have, we'll call capital here. We have two different types, right? We have our liabilities and we have our equity, right? And in the cost of capital formula, we're just going to change calling from liabilities to calling it debt, right? So we're just going to itemize that as the letter D. And now there's an important equation to think about. So in a company, assets of a company are going to equal that liabilities plus equity, right? So what you own is over on this side, and how you finance it is over on this side. And that's what we're talking about, is the capital that we're using to finance, and we're trying to understand what the cost of that capital is. So the first thing we're going to do, let's call this the value of the company. So the value is going to have to equal to the debt that we finance it with plus the equity that we finance it with. So now we need to say, well, okay, that's great. Let's get to the first part of it, the weighted average. Well, the first part, the weighted average, is to say, well, how much weight do we have of debt and how much weight do we have of equity as, percentages of the overall capital that we employ, right, to finance our capital structure. And by the way, the capital structure is the liabilities and equity as a whole. So we say, let's take first D divided by the value plus the equity divided by the value, and that should give us the value divided by the value, right? So if we have a company where the D, I can't erase that, where D is equal to, we'll say 40, and equity, sorry, I didn't mean to erase all that, but that's okay. So where D is equal to 40 and E is equal to 60, then our total value is 100. And I don't mean to insult you with the math here, but let's just do it anyway. So 40 divided by 100 plus 60 divided by 100 is equal to 100 divided by 100. And so in other words, our debt, what percentage is that? It's going to be 40 divided by 100. That's 40%. So we are 40% debt. We are 60% equity. That creates, the 100% of our overall capital structure. Okay, great. So that makes sense. But now we get to the part where we say the cost of capital. All right. So, well, we know that there is an overall cost of capital for the company, and so here we're just going to call that R, and more specifically, we'll call it R. V, right? So R subscript V, and that just lets us know we're talking about for the overall company. And well, how do we get to that? Well, the weighted average cost of capital lets us know that we know we have some debt, we know we have some equity, and debt and equity are going to have a different, cost to each of them, right? And I'm not going to go into the spills of what each one costs or how we derive that, but let's just keep it really simple for right now. If you know that you have a cost of equity at, we'll say 10%, and you know that your debt, so maybe you have a loan at the bank and it has an interest rate of 5%, and we know that we have our weight of equity is equal to 60%, and we know that our weight of debt is equal to 40%, then we can start thinking about, well, how does that help us understand what the overall cost for the company is? So the formula that you have for that, we call it WACC formula. We'll say that RV is equal to R subscript E times, I put a dot for the times the weight of subscript E plus, and now this is the WACC including tax, subscript E plus the R of D times, sorry, a little ahead of myself there, times the weight of subscript D. That's a D. And so what just happened there? Well, a couple of things. Let me just fix that really quick. It's bothering me. We're saying that R of E, so we're taking 10% times 60% to get the weighted cost of so 60% of 10% is 6%, right? That's what that comes out to. Plus, we're taking 5% times 40%, and what does that come up to? So 10% is 4, so 2%, right? Yeah, 2%. So equals that. And so now we can go down and say that the weighted average cost of capital for this company is 8%. Awesome. Now what will you use that for? Well, this is where you go. Here is our previous here's our previous portion. I am looking at doing a present value, and I know that the present value is equal to a cash flow in a certain period divided by 1 plus R. Look at that, where R is coming from again, raised to the power of n in a certain period. So if you knew that you were getting, say, $10, $10, and $10 in cash flows, then you could say, well, it's going to be 1.08, 1.08, 1.08, using our weighted average cost of capital in this firm, raised to the power of 1, 2, 3. Add those together. And that would give you a present value of a series of cash flows of $10 dollars over 3 years, right? And that's that. And I'm not going to go into the math there, but that's where it comes from.